The Wild West, a stage of grit, gunsmoke, and secrets echoing through time. Vanished fortunes and elusive outlaws fuel tales that ignite the imagination. Join us as we uncover 15 of the Wild West's most enduring unsolved mysteries. Number 15. Dalton Gang's Hidden Treasure. The Dalton Gang, a notorious group of outlaws known for their daring robberies and audacious exploits, are said to have amassed a considerable fortune during their reign of terror in the early 1890s. According to legend, a portion of this ill-gotten wealth remains hidden to this day, waiting to be discovered by intrepid treasure hunters and adventurers. The Dalton Gang, consisting of brothers Grat, Bob, and Emmett Dalton, among others, embarked on a series of bold bank and train robberies across the American Southwest. Their brazen attacks and seemingly uncanny ability to evade capture earned them a reputation as some of the most fearsome outlaws of their time. The theory of the Dalton Gang's buried treasure stems from the gang's modus operandi. Constantly on the run and needing to travel light, the outlaws could not feasibly carry all their loot with them at all times. This has led to speculation that they may have stashed portions of their wealth in secret locations, awaiting a time when they could safely retrieve it. Some believe that these hidden caches could be scattered across the rugged landscapes of Kansas, Oklahoma, and other states where the gang operated. The Dalton Gang's reign came to an abrupt and violent end in 1892, with the death of several gang members during a failed bank robbery in Coffeyville, Kansas. The surviving member, Emmett Dalton, was captured and served a lengthy prison sentence. Over the years, numerous treasure hunters and history enthusiasts have sought to uncover the gang's lost riches. Armed with metal detectors, maps, and a wealth of historical research, these modern-day prospectors have scoured the countryside in search of any clues that might lead them to the elusive prize. However, the absence of concrete leads, detailed maps, or credible accounts from surviving gang members has meant that the treasure, if it exists at all, remains as elusive as ever. Number 14. The Real Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid, a legend of the Wild West, but who was he really? Henry McCarty? William H. Bonney? Maybe someone else entirely? Born amidst the grit of New York City in 1859, his troubled youth set the stage for a life on the fringes of society. It was in the bloody feuds of the Lincoln County War that his reputation took shape, as a skilled gunslinger and a notorious outlaw. The biggest twist in Billy the Kid's story came with his death in 1881, supposedly shot by Sheriff Pat Garrett. However, over the years, numerous individuals claimed to be Billy, asserting that he had survived and assumed a new identity. The most notable claim came from Brushy Bill Roberts in the 1950s, whose petition for a pardon as Billy the Kid was denied, leaving the mystery unresolved. Historians and enthusiasts continue to debate the veracity of these claims, scrutinizing forensic examinations and historical records to verify his identity, but conclusive evidence remains elusive. The theory that Sheriff Pat Garrett helped Billy the Kid escape, despite official reports of his death, has gained traction among some researchers. Proponents of this theory point to inconsistencies in the accounts of Billy's death and the lack of definitive evidence confirming his demise. Number 13. The Legend of Jean-Baptiste. Few tales are as paradoxical and chilling as the legend of Jean-Baptiste, the French gravedigger turned grave robber who vanished into thin air. Baptiste's story, steeped in the dark undercurrents of the frontier's moral ambiguity, has captivated the imaginations of historians and enthusiasts for over a century. Born in France, Baptiste made his way to the burgeoning settlements of the American West in the mid-19th century, where he found work as a gravedigger in the Utah Territory. For a time, he was a respected member of the community, diligently tending to the final resting places of the deceased. However, beneath the veneer of respectability lurked a sinister secret. Baptiste was robbing the very graves he had sworn to protect. When his crimes were finally uncovered, the outraged citizenry demanded swift and severe justice. Fearing for Baptiste's safety in the face of an angry mob, authorities made the unusual decision to exile him to a small, isolated island on the Great Salt Lake, where he would remain until he could be brought to trial, alone and cut off from the outside world. Weeks passed, and when the authorities finally returned to the island to retrieve their prisoner, they were met with an eerie and inexplicable sight. Baptiste was nowhere to be found, and the only trace of his presence was a set of skeletal remains, gnawed clean by the island's scavenging wildlife. Some suggested that Baptiste had managed to escape, either by constructing a makeshift raft or by swimming to shore, defying the great distance and the lake's briny waters. Others whispered of darker fates, hinting at the possibility of foul play or even supernatural intervention. Years passed, and no trace of Baptiste was found. Number 12. The Body Curse. Nestled in the rugged terrain of California's Sierra Nevada mountains lies the historic ghost town of Bodie, a once thriving gold mining settlement that now stands as a haunting reminder of the Wild West's fleeting prosperity. Yet, amidst the eerie stillness of its abandoned buildings and weathered artifacts, a sinister legend has taken root: the Body Curse. According to local lore, anyone who dares to remove an item from Bodie, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, will be plagued by misfortune and ill fate. This curse, potentially started by park staff to prevent theft, has gained notoriety, with numerous accounts of individuals suffering inexplicable misfortunes after pilfering a piece of Bodie's history. The park's rangers and caretakers are inundated with letters of apology and packages containing stolen artifacts, sent by remorseful visitors desperate to break free from the curse's grip. These letters, often accompanied by tales of financial ruin, health problems, and personal tragedies, serve as a testament to the power of the Body Curse in the minds of those who have fallen victim to its supposed wrath. Skeptics may dismiss the curse as mere superstition, a clever ploy to protect the town's historical integrity. Yet the sheer volume of reported incidents and the fervor with which people seek to return their ill-gotten treasures suggest that there may be more to this legend than meets the eye. Number 11. The Lost Ship of the Desert. In the vast expanse of California's Colorado Desert, a legend has persisted for centuries, telling of a Spanish galleon laden with pearls and buried beneath the shifting sands. The origins of the legend are shrouded in mystery, with some accounts placing the ship's arrival in the Gulf of California as far back as the 16th or 17th century. According to these tales, the galleon, heavy with its precious cargo, black pearls, became stranded in the shallow waters and was eventually engulfed by the encroaching desert sands. As the landscape shifted and changed over time, the ship was lost to history, waiting to be rediscovered by some lucky soul. Over the years, the legend has been fueled by sporadic reports of sightings, with travelers and prospectors claiming to have stumbled upon the weathered remains of an ancient vessel protruding from the desert sands. These accounts have varied in their details, with some describing the ship as a Spanish galleon, while others have suggested it may be a Viking longboat or even a vessel belonging to the explorer Juan de Iturbe. Despite the tantalizing nature of these reports, no credible evidence has ever been presented to confirm the existence of the lost ship of the desert. Skeptics have pointed out that the harsh desert conditions would make the survival of a wooden ship for hundreds of years highly unlikely, and extensive searches of the area have failed to uncover any trace of the elusive vessel. Number 10. Slumac's Cursed Gold. Deep within the rugged wilderness of British Columbia's Pitt Lake region lies a legend of gold and tragedy that has captivated the minds of treasure hunters and adventurers for more than a century. The tale of Slumac's cursed gold mine, first discovered by a Cochise First Nations man named Slumac in the late 1800s, is a story steeped in mystery, allure, and dark foreboding. According to legend, Slumac stumbled upon a vein of gold so rich and pure that it promised untold wealth to anyone who could locate it. The mine, hidden away in the dense forests and treacherous terrain of the Pitt Lake area, became an obsession for the old prospector, who jealously guarded its secret location. Tales of Slumac's incredible discovery soon spread, attracting the attention of other gold seekers eager to claim a share of the bounty. However, the legend of Slumac's gold took a sinister turn when the prospector was convicted and hanged for the murder of Louis B., a half-French, half-indigenous man in 1891. In the wake of his death, rumors began to circulate that Slumac had placed a curse upon the mine, dooming anyone who sought to find it to a grim and tragic fate. Over the years, countless treasure hunters and prospectors have ventured into the wilderness, determined to uncover the location of Slumac's lost mine. Many have returned empty-handed, their dreams of wealth and fortune dashed upon the rocks of the unforgiving landscape. Others, it is said, have never returned at all, falling victim to the mine's alleged curse or the dangers of the terrain. Some claim that the mine never existed at all, that it was merely the product of a fevered imagination or a tall tale spun by a convicted murderer. Others maintain that the gold is still out there, waiting for a lucky or foolhardy adventurer to claim it. Number 9. Mystery of Poncho Villa. Amidst the chaos of the Mexican Revolution, Poncho Villa rose as an icon, a fearless general, a cunning bandit, and a beloved champion of the common people. His life was a whirlwind of violence and daring, and his assassination in Parral in 1923 sent shockwaves across the nation. He was buried in Hidalgo Cemetery, but even in death, Villa was not left in peace. 3 years after his burial in 1926, a shocking discovery was made. Villa's grave was desecrated, and his skull stolen. The grisly theft sent shockwaves through Mexico, and rumors began to swirl about the identity of the culprits and the fate of the missing skull. Some whispered that the head had been stolen by a renegade art dealer who had sold it to a private collector in France for a hefty sum. Others pointed the finger at American military intelligence. But perhaps the most persistent and intriguing rumor of all centered on a shadowy American secret society known as the Skull and Bones. This elite group, based at Yale University and known for its powerful and influential members, was said to have a penchant for collecting the skulls of famous figures, including that of the legendary Apache leader Geronimo. According to the rumor, the Skull and Bones Society had paid a small fortune to have Villa's skull stolen and delivered to their headquarters in New Haven, Connecticut. There, it was said to reside in a secret chamber, alongside the skulls of other famous leaders and luminaries, a macabre trophy for the society's members to admire and venerate. Despite countless investigations and theories, the true fate of Poncho Villa's skull remains a mystery to this day. The Mexican government has made numerous attempts to locate and recover the missing skull, but to no avail. Number 8. The Lost Gold of Doc Noss. In the rugged wilderness of New Mexico's Hembrillo Basin, a fortune in gold lies buried, waiting to be discovered. This is the legend of the lost treasure of Doc Noss, a tale of obsession, greed, and murder that has captivated treasure hunters and adventurers for nearly a century. The story begins in the 1930s when a man named Milton Doc Noss, a self-taught chiropractor and amateur treasure hunter, claimed to have discovered a hidden cache of gold bars and ancient artifacts in a remote cave in the Hembrillo Basin. According to Noss, the treasure was of Spanish origin and had been hidden away centuries earlier by conquistadors or missionaries. Eager to retrieve the fortune, Noss set about excavating the cave, using dynamite to widen the narrow entrance. However, his efforts proved disastrous, and a massive explosion caused the cave to collapse, sealing off the entrance and trapping the treasure inside. Undeterred, Noss spent the next several years trying to raise money to fund a new excavation. He managed to convince a number of investors to back his efforts, and for a time, it seemed as though his dream of retrieving the lost treasure might finally be realized. However, Noss's obsession with the treasure would ultimately prove his undoing. In 1949, he was shot and killed by a business associate named Charlie Ryan, who claimed that Noss had tried to cheat him out of his share of the treasure. Ryan was later acquitted of murder, but the treasure's location died with Noss. Number 7. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The tale of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, two of the most notorious outlaws of the Wild West, is a story steeped in mystery and legend. Their exploits as members of the infamous Wild Bunch gang, robbing trains and banks across the American frontier, have become the stuff of folklore, immortalized in books, films, and the popular imagination. But it is the mystery surrounding their alleged deaths in a small Bolivian village that has captivated historians and adventurers for over a century. According to official reports, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid met their end in a bloody shootout with Bolivian authorities in the town of San Vicente on November 7, 1908. Their bodies were allegedly interred in a local cemetery, and the case was closed. However, the years have cast long shadows of doubt upon the accepted narrative. Many point to the lack of definitive proof, such as photographs or fingerprints, to conclusively identify the dead men as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Whispers persist, fueled by the outlaws' elusive nature, that they may have orchestrated their own deaths, slipping away to assume new identities. These whispers gain strength from a trail of tantalizing clues and alleged sightings in the years since their supposed end. Reports surfaced of Butch Cassidy in various corners of the United States, from Texas to his familiar haunts in Wyoming. Some even swore he frequented family gatherings under the veil of secrecy. Perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence supporting their survival is a 1934 manuscript. Allegedly written by Butch Cassidy himself, the text known as Bandit Invincible asserts that both he and his partner in crime escaped Bolivia, ultimately returning to the United States. Number 6. Albert Fountain. Albert Jennings Fountain. Lawyer, politician, war veteran. A man of reputation and influence in the ruthless world of the Wild West. Yet he and his young son Henry disappeared without a trace, leaving a void of unanswered questions that echo through the decades. On February 1, 1896, Fountain and his son set out from Lincoln, New Mexico, where the elder Fountain had been prosecuting a case against suspected cattle rustlers. The two were traveling by buckboard, a simple horse-drawn wagon, and were last seen by a passerby near the White Sands area of the Tularosa Basin. When the Fountains failed to arrive at their destination, a search party was organized, and the buckboard was soon discovered, abandoned and empty, with no sign of Albert or Henry. The only clues left behind were a pool of blood, a single cartridge casing, and the tracks of several horses leading away from the scene. Suspicion immediately fell on the cattle rustlers that Fountain had been prosecuting, and a posse was formed to track down the suspects. Despite the efforts of legendary lawman Pat Garrett, who was brought in to assist with the investigation, no trace of the Fountains was ever found, and the case quickly went cold. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged about the fate of Albert and Henry Fountain. Some believe that they were murdered by the cattle rustlers in an act of revenge, their bodies hidden in the vast expanse of the New Mexico desert. Others have suggested that Fountain, who had made numerous enemies during his career, may have been the victim of a political assassination. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. They say the Wild West was a man's world, outlaws, gunslingers, and every kind of hard-bitten character imaginable. But in the heart of Montana in the mid-1800s, a different kind of legend took root. The story of a giantess, a female outlaw who towered over them all. Rumor has it that she stood nearly 10 feet tall, a master of weapons who chose to ride alone. Instead of joining gangs, she challenged them, protecting ordinary folks. Then, as swiftly as her legend spread, she disappeared without a trace. Some say she fell victim to a gang. Could this be a true story or just a wild frontier rumor? Let us know in the comments. Number 5. The Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine. Nestled in the rugged terrain of Arizona's Superstition Mountains lies a mystery that has tantalized treasure hunters for over a century. The Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine. The legend, rich with tales of immense wealth, traces back to a German immigrant named Jacob Waltz, known as the Dutchman, who allegedly discovered a mine brimming with gold in the 19th century. Waltz's story is as elusive as the mine itself. Some say he stumbled upon the mine after befriending or possibly betraying an Apache family, while others believe he found it with the help of a fellow prospector, Jacob Weiser, whose eventual fate remains a subject of debate. Regardless of its origins, the Dutchman claimed he had found a vein of gold so rich that the ore could be cut away with a knife. Upon Waltz's death in 1891, the secret of the mine's location died with him, leaving behind only enigmatic clues and cryptic descriptions of a mine entrance shadowed by the setting sun and stone formations resembling a sombrero. These breadcrumbs have fueled countless expeditions, with prospectors combing the Superstition Mountains, hoping to stumble upon the legendary cache. The allure of the lost Dutchman's gold mine lies not just in its supposed riches, but also in the tales of curses and tragedies that have befallen those who sought it. Several explorers have met untimely ends in their quests, adding a layer of ominous intrigue to the legend. This has only deepened the aura surrounding the mine, transforming it from a mere gold rush tale into a symbol of the unquenchable human thirst for wealth and adventure. Number 4. Pearl Hart. In the rough-and-tumble world of the Wild West, where outlaws and gunslingers etched their names into legend, a woman dared to break the mold. Pearl Hart, born Pearl Taylor in 1871, carved her own notorious path as one of the most infamous female outlaws of her era. Hart's early life was a crucible of tragedy and hardship. Orphaned at a young age, she endured abuse at the hands of relatives before fleeing as a teenager. She eventually made her way to the lawless frontier of Arizona, where she found work as a cook and a singer in various saloons and brothels. It was in this rugged environment that Hart first gained a taste for the outlaw life. In 1899, she and a male companion, Joe Boot, robbed a stagecoach near Globe, Arizona, making off with over $400 in cash and valuables. The daring heist made headlines across the country and cemented Hart's reputation as a bold and fearless outlaw. Despite her newfound notoriety, Hart's luck eventually ran out. She and Boot were captured shortly after the robbery and sentenced to prison. Hart, however, managed to turn her incarceration into a kind of celebrity, becoming a media sensation and even receiving fan mail from admirers across the country. After serving just 18 months of her 5-year sentence, Arizona Governor Alexander Brody pardoned Hart. The reason for her early release remains a subject of speculation, with some suggesting she may have become pregnant while in prison. Following her release, Hart's life took a series of strange and mysterious turns. She briefly toured the country as a performer in Wild West shows, capitalizing on her newfound fame as the Lady Bandit. However, her career on the stage was short-lived, and she soon disappeared from the public eye. Rumors and sightings of Pearl Hart continued to circulate for years after her disappearance. Some claimed to have seen her in various parts of the country, from New York to California, while others insisted she had fled to Mexico or even Europe. The truth of her fate, however, remains unknown to this day. Number 3. Roswell Incident. The Roswell Incident of 1878, often overshadowed by the more famous UFO incident of 1947, remains a peculiar chapter in the mysteries of the Wild West. This earlier incident involves the bizarre and unexplained death of a cattleman, John Martin, near Roswell, New Mexico. Martin's death stirred considerable intrigue and speculation due to its strange circumstances, which baffled local residents and law enforcement. According to reports, Martin was found dead under mysterious conditions that defied explanation. Some accounts suggest that his body was discovered with inexplicable injuries, fueling rumors of extraterrestrial involvement. The unusual nature of the case and the lack of a clear explanation for Martin's demise led to widespread speculation and the growth of local legends. While some researchers have posited more earthly explanations for Martin's death, such as a violent encounter with outlaws or a tragic accident, the absence of concrete evidence has allowed the more fantastical theories to persist. The notion of an extraterrestrial connection, though tenuous, has captured the imaginations of many, particularly in light of the later, more famous Roswell incident. Number 2. Mystery of Cochise. Cochise, the legendary chief of the Chokanan band of the Chiricahua Apache, remains an enigmatic figure in the annals of the Wild West. As a formidable leader and skilled warrior, Cochise played a pivotal role in the Apache Wars, which raged across the American Southwest from 1849 to 1886. His bravery, strategic prowess, and unwavering commitment to his people earned him a place in history as one of the most renowned Native American leaders of his time. Yet for all his fame and influence, the final resting place of Cochise remains a mystery that has endured for more than a century. It is known that the great chief died of natural causes in 1874, and that he was laid to rest somewhere in the rugged expanse of Arizona's Dragoon Mountains. a range that stretches over 40 miles from northwest to southeast. However, the exact location of his grave has been lost to time, known only to a select few who were present at his burial. One of those privy to the secret was Cochise's friend and confidant, Tom Jeffords, a man who had earned the chief's trust and respect through his fair dealings and unwavering loyalty. Jeffords, along with a small group of Apache warriors, is said to have carried out Cochise's final wishes, interring him in a hidden cave or crevice within the mountain range that had been his home and sanctuary. The decision to keep the location of Cochise's grave a closely guarded secret was a deliberate one, born of a desire to protect the great chief's remains from desecration or disturbance. In the years following his death, many sought to uncover the whereabouts of his final resting place, driven by a mix of curiosity, reverence, and perhaps even a hint of morbid fascination. Yet despite countless expeditions and searches, no definitive trace of Cochise's grave has ever been found. Number 1. The Tombstone Thunderbird. In Native American folklore, few creatures loom as large or as mysteriously as the Thunderbird, a giant winged beast said to roam the skies, wielding the power of storms. For centuries, European settlers largely dismissed these enigmatic beings as mere myths, the stuff of legend and superstition. However, in 1890, the town of Tombstone, Arizona, found itself at the center of a bizarre and captivating mystery that would challenge this skepticism and ignite the imaginations of people across the nation. In April of that year, the Tombstone Epitaph, the town's local newspaper, published a sensational article claiming that a group of ranchers had encountered and shot down a colossal bird-like creature in the nearby desert. The beast, described as being larger than any known species of bird, was said to have a wingspan of an astonishing 160 feet and a body as large as a horse. Accompanying the article were strange, grainy images purporting to show the fallen creature. The story of the Tombstone Thunderbird quickly spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of newspapers and curious minds across the country. Many hailed it as proof of the existence of these mythical creatures, while others dismissed it as an elaborate hoax or a case of mistaken identity. In the years that followed, more sightings of thunderbirds would be reported in the region, each adding to the growing legend and fueling further speculation. Despite the intriguing nature of the Tombstone Thunderbird tale, hard evidence of the creature's existence has remained elusive. Skeptics argue that the photographs accompanying the original article were likely staged or doctored, and no physical remains of the supposed beast have ever been recovered. Some suggest that the ranchers may have simply encountered a large, unknown species of bird, such as a condor or a giant teratorn, which became exaggerated in the retelling. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.